Alright, and that is time. All judges, please move to your next presentation. We'll actually be the last presentation today.
Thank you. So over here. Well, we saw the last few years. It didn't work out so well. So we're not doing this one.
I switched it up for the last one.
If you come here early, and then you get the full perspective of the windscreen. No,
Alright. Is there any way we can get something for
they only apply
the
that
previous, like anything recorded for the previous group?
Really?
I'll go back. I mean, we can't right now, right? Because we have to do this one. Yeah. We're not going to do it in 2 minutes.
That's off, man. If they have an extra camera, I can record the other group.
They didn't.
Damn. Give me a second. Don't think about it any different.
Well, what we can do is
Can you get the judges here? I need to ask them a quick question. Can you make sure the judges are here? I need to ask them a quick question. What's that? I made myself never.
Oh, judges will be here in a second.
No, I modified it so it did that. Kevin did the same thing if you noticed. Yeah, I couldn't change it. I flipped it around.
That's why we have bugs.
I know. I'm like, why would I have buy it?
I like some sort of. So do you just flip it in your schedule?
It's just an iPod with fancy,
audio dock?
fancy
Audio?
speakers. Yeah.
Are we over here? Over here.
Yep. Yeah.
Welcome.
Typically,
hold on.
if I know the booms,
I thought we were okay. This is fine.
Yeah.
So and the camera's working again.
Yes, the camera's working now.
So I told you may want to tell the SIU people not to tear down.
Yeah, I was going to go, but they were gone. I'm going to go back and record just at least the presentation.
No,
or
that's what
something.
you need to do. They just need to make sure that they don't need their video. Exactly.
They left, so I'm going to wait for them after
Yeah,
this
that's fine. Okay, that's cool. Well, they don't. I didn't get a chance to tell them.
there's combos that are both
So this is MetroSwift.
further towards you.
You guys know that number?
Well, this kind of job, I needed
It's
some
Team
stuff.
Five.
I needed a wireless
Team
send
Five.
for the producers.
You guys just got here? You guys were in an airplane before?
We got delayed at some Portland, Oregon.
Oh, no. Okay.
Well, when we left, it was
Apart on the
so lots of planes later. We're here.
Okay, go.
All right, so I'm Steven.
I'm Ryan.
Patrick. David. And our project is to build a computerized dashboard. So what we're doing is, think of your gauge cluster in your car. We're replacing that with a screen and then a computerized system behind it, and we're taking it, making it so you can move like all the controls that you have on, say, your center console and stuff like that, onto the steering wheel. So you keep your hands on the wheel, but still move through a menu system to change any settings you need or adjust temperature, that sort of thing. So this is our setup.
With this visually.
You want to describe what we have?
Yeah, so what we have set up here is we still are using an Intel Atom board. It's a Contron MSMST. And then in the front here we have a 1280 by 480 12.3 inch display. All of that is controlled by the steering wheel here. The steering wheel has 6 OLED switches. Now these switches actually have screens in each of them. They would work normally, but there was some difficulties with the manufacturer, so right now they're not working. Also, these buttons here map to what would be rockers on the steering wheel that allow you to change normally your volume or your channels in the stereo. So it's like you want to.
And this is we're using a simulator obviously to feed data in, but that's running on a separate computer, and theoretically you can put your car data or whatever you want into that. So you want to show?
Two of the focuses we had with this project were safety and the driver experience. So the one thing we really wanted to focus on is keeping the driver's eyes on the road. And we're doing that by making it your eyes as close to the road as possible. So what some manufacturers are doing is they're putting a big touchscreen in the center. And we think that's bad because you have to look and actually press. You can't feel for a dial or something. So we're making all of the controls onto this system. And this system is fully functioning. And what happens is these buttons correspond to the buttons on this side, and these correspond to the buttons on this side. The top 3 map to the top 3 buttons, and the up and down correspond to this, and the same thing on this side.
Those are display only, that we can control through them.
No, that's not a touch screen, so you can only control it through these, which normally these icons here would appear directly on those screens, so it'd be really easy for if you're learning it or for first-time users or even everyday use.
I want to talk about gamification.
So one of the things that we really were focused on was gamification and making the driver experience more enjoyable. So we have what we call a driving score, and that's what this dial is here. And it takes in a lot of different factors. It takes in how efficiently you're driving, how safely you're driving, throttle control, things like that, and gives you a score, such that at the end of a driving session, it'll give you a score such that you can, like, for example, brag to your coworkers or something like that about, oh, I can drive this well, sort of thing. And it incentivizes people to drive safer, more efficiently, things like that. The original idea was to put this in an electric geo, so you're not having anything to do with efficiency since it's an electric vehicle, so you can't get miles per gallon or anything like that. So we're going for something like gamification, a score, to incentivize people to drive better.
Another thing we're doing is I'll show you on this system over here. It's the same thing.
This is running on the Tracer board. We needed the Contron for the LVDS output because it doesn't support that yet, so just to drive the screen, but it's just running Windows 7.
So what we will do is we'll pull GPS data from navigation, and that will get us speed limits for the current road. And what this number down here is the speed limit, and that number up here is your current speed. So I got some sliders to kind of show what will happen. So the current speed, you go up, and once you pass here, your speedometer changes colors to let you know you're speeding. And this is just to let the driver know that they should slow down to be within the law. So again, keeping in the theme of safety there.
Part of how this was built, because there are a lot of options and menus you can go through. We have climate, but it was built to be modular. So each of these is sort of its own module, and the manufacturer, whoever was building the system, could say, okay, this car can do this sort of stuff. Set it up for that car. Sort of flexible framework to build everything else on.
So we built this using Qt, which is a UI building tool that runs off C++, and we decided to do this because it's cross-platform. So a lot of computerized vehicles use QNX or Windows Embedded, something like that. This system could easily be adapted for those operating systems and could be easily implanted and gather the data from their system.
A few things we're looking at for the future. So one current feature, obviously you don't see right now, is the OLED switches. Obviously in the future we'll have those working. But two other key features we really want to specifically mention is the fact that the driver obviously has all the controls, but we kind of always wonder about the passenger. We want to make sure that the passenger can also interact with the radio and the climate controls. So the passenger would have like a 7-inch tablet on their side of the vehicle that would allow them to adjust their climate, enter navigation addresses, and allow it to be able to be pushed to the driver's side. That's one of the big things. Secondly was the option, since there's a ton of menus and a lot of settings you can access, that if you're in park, there would be an application that you could get for the Windows Phone, Android, iOS, and it would allow you to change the settings on your car, and it would recognize you as a driver. So when you got in the car, everything is how you want it to be. But it wouldn't allow you to change those settings on your phone unless you were in park, because it would be able to detect the data from the dash itself.
So a couple of the decisions we made about how we made this in order to make it the easiest to use for the driver. So what we did is a bunch of usability studies with a bunch of different drivers of different ages, and we found things like low-depth menus. So I don't want to have to go in a menu and a menu and a menu to change a setting. I want to just like press a button and be able to pause my music and then play it again without having to go very deep, because that kind of defeats the purpose of, I mean, if it takes 10 times as long as just reaching over and pressing a button, that defeats the purpose. One of the things we designed for is muscle memory. So, for example, the back button is always in the same location, no matter like what menu you're on. So you can kind of just, without looking down at the screen at all, just know where you are. And for example, we're right now playing a CD, but if you press like entertainment 3 times, you'll get to radio. So if I just press this, now it's on like a radio station instead. So we made things very simple for a user, and once we noticed this in our usability tests, that once they got used to this, they could perform tasks very quickly.
So going off the usability tests, that was one of the things that we decided on for the button layouts, is that sort of thing, is when users were using it for 5-10 minutes, they were able to quickly adapt to the menu system and were easily able to interact with them and weren't having problems with them. So that was one of the things. That was one of the things that gave us the idea that, okay, this system is actually viable and that people were enjoying using it.
One thing also is that we obviously have this set up right now is like with the car simulator. The simulator is more of like a racing game, but it's more of a proof of concept to kind of show you how this whole dash works and kind of give you a general feel of how it works. Obviously, if you were to have this in a real car, it wouldn't be kind of as more of like a game, because the gamification kind of goes a little bit too far at this point. But when we're using it in an actual automobile, it will work a lot better and kind of incentivize better driving than more like, you know, more aggressive driving out of setup right now. Just we wanted to have something to present here at Cornell, so we wanted to make sure you could try it.
Go for it.
You can't crash. I mean, if you crash, reset. I think.
Unfortunately, that was the only table we could get. Yeah,
So again, these 3 buttons correspond to the top 3.
Yeah, gotta be very careful with the car. It's a heavy Mercedes.
I was looking down. Yeah, so this is really good. I mean, I really appreciate this. So we can watch him drive, and at the same time, if he's trying to do whatever, you know. So
my problem right now is that the screen is right where the wheel is.
Yeah. That's just to deal with how we had to set up for the demo today.
right. Normally, where would it be? I guess is what I would ask.
So how do you enter tire? Right there would be the tire.
Enter menu.
Well, like I selected.
Ideally,
I selected
the
some
screen
music.
would appear directly through the steering wheel. So if
does
you're
it
looking
just
through the
start
steering wheel, you should go
Right now it
to
is
the entire
playing, but
screen.
the volume is
That's
low, so
that's
the
how
red
it's
button's on this
implemented
side
right
of
now.
the
Most vehicles with gauge
So you
clusters,
can hold
you
that
should be
down
able to
and
see
see
it
the volume
just through the
screen.
top of
Okay,
your
so
steering.
you know, here's the weird thing. I think my wife drives like
So it
that,
just
but I
when you
don't.
switch
I always drive. What do I drive?
So we're
do
on
I
radio
drive like
right
this? I think I drive like this.
All right.
Okay.
For the presentations.
I have to think about that.
So if you want to change
Because
it would be the red button on that, which would change to a different
yeah,
radio
maybe
station.
I drive high. Maybe I drive with it high so I can read the. You're right. I do because I want to be able to
So
read the
what we were actually wanting to do
speedometer.
is this.
Q&A now.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that's right. I think I do would have it right through here because that way you can read the speedometer right in between. So this you're saying you'd see everything. Yeah. Between. Okay.
So when you did the usability testing, how did you do that? How many people did you involve?
They're
So we
world dwarfs.
So we were allowed to do this through actually a class at Oregon State, and we have a usability class, and we went through a full process. They call it the recipe process, where you make predispositions about what you think you know about the project and not, and then you use research to back that up, and then you make prototypes and concepts, and then verify those concepts. And
We talked to probably 3 or 4 users total. Obviously, it's a small sample. Some of it was in-depth interviews. You know, what do you like in a car? What do you know, that sort of thing. Not less on because we're just building it out. Less on, can't really compare this against this car as easily.
When it came to, because I did the user studies for the button layouts in particular, I actually tested this on a variety of drivers, people who were going to be new drivers, so 15, 16-year-olds, people who had been drivers for a while, 20, 30-year-olds, and then also elderly people, like 60, 70-year-olds. and we actually got a very wide range of responses. But in general, it was positive feedback that this system is right.
Now you know that there are, luxury cars out there that do have some buttons. I don't know if they have all these buttons, but I think I'm pretty sure some of them might have the way to control, the CD if you want to go to the next track. So it's very rudimentary. So is the advantage of yours over something like that? Yours is more sophisticated, or what?
I think to specify the advantage of this one is it's a remappable system. So each of these buttons is not permanently set to one item. It is mappable by software to a specific option.
And the user, whoever owns the car or whatever, can decide how to map it, or
that could be a viable option. At this point, it isn't, but it is something.
Like the person who is setting this up in a car, like the manufacturer would say, but you could have pluggable menus or something.
Yeah. So
I'm just saying that might be really a value, right? Because the way the manufacturer does it, the way I might want it would be totally different.
Exactly.
Right?
That could be an
and
option.
in fact, one step further, the way my wife might want it, the way I might want it might be different. So you could have a user setting for the wife and then for me.
Yeah.
So I actually have a say in something.
Yeah, like I kind of had mentioned the use of like an app, so that app would kind of tie into like your phone and your personality.
Yeah.
So when you load, it would load your layout.
They do
would be
the
kind
same
of the idea
thing
with
with
it.
seats, I believe. Where,
Yeah,
right?
so that would take, that would all probably be stored in here as well. So. Any other questions?
Any challenges on the overlay? Do you do any overlay of the videos on top of anything? Do you do any of those things right now? So while you're driving and you cross the speed limit, it turns red, right? That's just one of them. Anything else interesting that comes out here because of which is innovative?
I mean, there's like the fuel gauges and stuff all have. So, like the tachometer will turn red as you get close to the red line. So for a manual car. There's also things like your oil temperature, which is blue when you get down low and turns red when you get hot and gives you a warning when you're getting over.
Is that what you're trying to ask, or you know more about?
Because you're displaying real-time information, right?
Yes.
And it requires some kind of alpha blending. So you have a GPS running, and you overlay something else. It takes its own compute power. You're running off everything on Atom right now, right?
Yes. And it actually is performing without any hiccups.
I guess to specify on that the live data is not. So this would be its own like computation unit. Like a lot of that live data you would see like in most cars, like all the speedometer stuff is its own unit, and it would feed available data to here. So that way this unit, if for some reason it crashed, you might lose your display for a second, but your car won't stop driving. So there would be their own independent units is a big part of that.
So what kind of data can you collect? I mean, obviously the data that's shown here, but what about like I'm thinking of like a curve or a drawing of your speed over a trip, or figuring out trip times, things like that. Have you thought about anything?
I think we've taken into account a lot of other variables that can be taken in. Like we can implement any of those features.
So the standard car thing is this OBD2, right?
Yeah.
So that has all your engine data and stuff, so you could potentially chart it. I like that idea of charting over, maybe chart it on a map or something, maybe even.
Or even upload it to a phone or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I look on Google Maps and it tells me how long it should take, but I don't have any. I mean, I drive it every day, so I'd like to have my own data.
Yeah, so one sort of use that there is a current application that you can get for your car in a little aftermarket tool, but it can log all your data instantaneously. You choose what data you want to log, like you want to know your miles per gallon, instantaneous, your horsepower, your torque, and essentially it would graph it every 10 seconds, and so you can maybe upload to Google Maps even and be like, oh, so on this hill I drove worse than in this section, and you can compare it versus different days. So that could be one potential feature we could see in the future, so you can kind of even start working on making yourself drive better by comparing yourself over a certain part of your drive.
Good idea.
What was the total cost again?
So it's kind of hard because we have it broken out, and some of these parts were like we had just at school lying around, so like the contract and stuff. The screen and stuff, the buttons were expensive, about $500 or $600 for the OLED buttons and the whole development kit. So some of that, scale too, right? Scale is
Sure.
It's hard to price it out. The screen we pulled out of a sun visor. You can't actually. We had a hard time sourcing the screen.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking, where do you get that?
We called so many people.
Yeah.
I called Japan.
And then you can't buy the screen.
Just off of eBay. Someone sold
It's a Japanese sun visor because you can only buy the left sun visor, which is always the passenger side. So,
like for showing a movie, like if you're watching movies in your car.
yeah, thank you very much.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it,
Pleasure.
guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, very good.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you again.
Just